Shit. Well, welcome to the 16th, 16.5, 16 and a half, number 16.5 of the AVC show. I'm none other than Angry Vegan Cyclist. Uh, yeah, a lot of stupid shit is happening in my real life schedules, and it should settle out by the beginning of June, but, shit happens. What am I going to do? Um, what I am going to do instead, to answer that question, is I will just catch up with what I can. And here's an emergency surprise show to cover a few topics that I looked at real quick. Sorry if that's not to your expectations. I disappointed myself. Took some L's in real life, but I keep moving along. So, anyway, I think the most poignant topic that I could talk about today, right now, is none other than this constantly recurring theme of people having really no idea what the fuck AI is, and then fearing it. So people, they see the Terminator, and then Dunning-Kruger effect is at play, and they're suddenly convinced that, okay, well, and ChatGPT and other types of AI are just going to destroy everything and make humans obsolete. Well, I hate to sound like a leftist dipshit, but yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. But rather a lot to show behind the curtains of how everything works and how really it's just like a lot of things in life. Humans tend to over or under anticipate things. And this is definitely a case of over anticipation because of the really self-marketing, the involuntary marketing around artificial intelligence. It's clearly a abnormally quickly booming sector of the economy, and it's just going to, I guess it's just an opinion because it's all speculation. No one knows the future. Duh, obvious disclaimer, but I don't see it. I mean, fucking come on. Anyway, so Alcoholic Gaming, he's slowed down in his video production, but go check out his channel. Links in the description, hopefully. Other than that, yeah, well, I guess we'll just get into these topics because I just feel like talking about it. And now I just have an unusual moment in time to do so. Anyway, let's take this privacy cover off. So, all right. From Business Insider, there's an article that states software company CEO says that it's using ChatGPT cuts the time it takes to complete coding tasks from around 9 weeks to just a few days. By Beatrice Nolan. The CEO of the software firm Freshworks says his workers are using OpenAI's ChatGPT to write code. Girish Mathrubootham told Fortune some tasks that usually took 8 to 10 weeks were completed in a few days. Generative AI's impressive coding skills are making it easier for people to develop software. The CEO of the software company Freshworks says his employees are using OpenAI's ChatGPT to write code and saving them a ton of time. Quote, we use ChatGPT to write code. Mathrubootham told Fortune. Software development that, quote, used to take anywhere from 8 to 10 weeks now can be done in less than a week, he said. Generative AI's impressive coding skills are making it easier for people to develop software across the board. Some VCs and startup founders told Insider's Stephanie Palazzolo that this could disrupt the way the software is created, distributed, and used. A representative for Freshworks did not immediately respond to a request for comment made outside of normal business hours. Freshworks isn't the only example of companies using this new technology to increase productivity. The CEO of Octopus Energy said artificial intelligence is doing the work of hundreds of people at the company. Greg Jackson wrote for the Times of London that the company had been using AI for months, and that emails were written by these tools delivered better customer satisfaction than those from trained workers. Workers are also taking it upon themselves to leverage AI to increase their productivity and output behind their bosses' backs. One worker, speaking under the pseudonym Ben, told Vice, didn't Vice go bankrupt? That ChatGPT did around 80% of their job. Ben, Ben, that's a they, right? Okay, whatever. The recent popularity of AI-powered tools like Chatgpt is stoking employee fears about the automation of jobs, especially amid a wave of layoffs affecting several industries. A March report from Goldman Sachs said that generative AI tools like ChatGPT could lead, quote, significant disruption in the labor market and could affect around 300 million full-time jobs globally. What kind of, okay, you need to specify what kind of effects. And effect, okay, so does that mean removal? Since, okay, the job of this entry-level coder is completely obsolete? Or does it mean that it's going to streamline it? I mean, there's going to be layoffs because you can do the same work with less people. Here's actually an interesting, like, tangential topic. Okay, that's the end of the article. I guess we can just jump straight into this. So I guess before we can continue, from what I do understand already, so I've tried using ChatGPT for all kinds of stuff. It's useful, it's free, it's open, so everyone, and also it's not, I wouldn't consider it quote unquote cheating for anything because literally anyone can sign up and use it. So it's just universal. It's about as cheating as, I don't know, drinking water during an athletic competition. So if my bottom line is that if you are replaced by AI, you kind of deserve it. And you could take that as an insult to your competence and your existence as a human being, or you could use this as a kick in the ass to consider, okay, what can I do that the AI cannot? Now, there are still many things human brains can do that AI cannot. I will admit, the conversations I have with ChatGPT are more interesting than I have with probably 70 to 80% of all humans that I've ever met. But with every stage in automation, and you know where I've heard this from, all it does, it takes the same money in the economy and moves it up into a smaller number of positions. We are already, even before the resurgence of AI, remember AI's been around for a long time. ChatGPT is just a fucking flagship that caused the greatest wave of publicity in the past 5, 10, 15 years. Now AI is breaking into the mainstream. All of a sudden, people are, all they know about AI and technology for the robotics, etc., is coming from sci-fi movies like Terminator and iRobot. And they put two and two together. They see that, okay, this person is probably not skilled enough to be more useful or interesting than AI, ChatGPT. And this person saw sci-fi movies, literature, fiction, and then puts these two together and thinks that AI is here to destroy the world. And these people usually just keep beating their chests about, oh, AI bad. Everyone, then you ask, okay, then what? What about it? And so far, I don't really get a answer for that. So these people are just screaming and bleating like a goat about to be slaughtered or something. And I know, ironic me saying this is a fake vegan, right? And it's just kind of pathetic, really. I don't really have respect for these kinds of people. So, regardless, the tidal waves of technology are outside of your control. So you can stand there and you can be mad at it and drown, or you can grab a surfboard and surf on it. Or, God forbid, learn how it works and use it yourself. So I'm by no means an AI expert, but I will state what I understand anyway, is limited as it may be, equally falling upon the risk of committing the fallacy of the Dunning-Kruger effect. So AI, regardless of what form it takes, whatever type, it cannot read your mind. It only can communicate with you through, at least with language models, like ChatGPT. ChatGPT is, from what I understand, is basically a more sophisticated form of word suggestion that has access to search engines. So what can that really do for you? So that's a good research tool. It has limited ability to expose you to, how would you say this? It has little ability to prompt you, and it answers your question, what it thinks what your question is, by looking at the words inside it, and then seeing what words are related to each other in this extensive kind of like spiderweb network. It's still not quite how a remotely sophisticated human understands these things, but it's an attempt to get towards it. Of course, ChatGPT has a greater access to information than a wider range of access to information than you or I could, assuming that the human competitor with it does not have access to, let's say, like an immediate search engine. However, I guess one picture I think everyone here should see is that, so a language model can solicit these different items, these different, I guess, substrata of knowledge, and I guess uses intelligence to do so. Now, it doesn't reach into these things unless specifically prompted to, proactively. It can only answer things reactively. Now, what human brains are more like is something like this. At least a remotely educated human, which I can be few, admittedly. So these things are seamlessly integrated. So let's say if you ask ChatGPT, for example, you're telling it to write a melody upon the theme of, I don't know, in the shape of something associated with mountains. Now it's kind of subjective. Okay, well that on the surface level, that question doesn't really make sense. So you asked it, okay, write me a melody that would fit a mountain scenery. Write me a melody that would be appropriate for soundtrack in a mountain scene in a movie or show. And okay, well, the ChatGPT will look at what you were talking about: melody, mountain, scenery, TV show, series, TV movie, etc. And then it looks for other words associated with it, and then looks for things that are associated with the sub-associations of the words you gave it. Whereas a human can, let's say a remotely skilled human, somewhat skilled human, will say, okay, takes a look at the same question. Oh, what the hell's going on here? Hold on. And we'll think of, we'll not have to go through like these different subsets. May not come up with it as quickly, but of course the human has a subjective perception of, okay, what is associated with mountains. And then this hopefully musically talented human will kind of reapply the rules of music and produce a melody that is subjective. But if you were asking that question, you're likely not willing to go into depth about how to do this yourself. So you're asking for a prompt just pulled out of nowhere and then given to you because, well, either you lack skills, lack talent, lack inspiration, or you're suffering from a form of writer's block, which is, again, law of convergent behavior. People who come to ChatGPT for different reasons. Now, the human, so at that point, for the most part, and then you can check this video here, it's titled, "But can ChatGPT ***4*** write a good melody?" ? And he's, if I recall correctly, and I probably shouldn't have spoken so soon after watching so little of this video, but for the most part, ChatGPT just comes up with just these kind of sporadic, meaningless note sequences. Very predictable. And it's quite lazy as well. It only gives you such a short section, and you have to reprompt it and continue harassing ChatGPT to see, oh, this is not enough, I need more notes. And then you have to do this several times, and I've tried this, believe me. It's not even specifically for music. I've tried it for writing, research, and it's kind of lazy, admittedly. So, okay, AVC, you've talked on for how long? 10 minutes about this? Okay, cut to the chase. All right. ChatGPT will probably only partially do the work. You still have to reorganize the chunks that ChatGPT can give to you. And in order for, let's say, especially for artistic works, but it can also apply to coding, as stated here. There still is people that need to reorganize it. What AI is still a machine. It can only follow rules. It doesn't know when to. It has very, very limited ability to do, actually almost zero ability to strategically break rules to create a unique, special, or quote unquote accidental discovery. I guess we can call that the X factor or A factor. A lot of it, there's well, I wouldn't say a lot. I would say a decent number of inventions were discovered purely by accident. Whether it's chemistry, whether it's computer science, whether it's they're just the unpredictability, contrary to what you might think, is actually a surprisingly important thing in engineering. For example, let's say you're casting an engineering competition. You want to create a special device, and then the goals are this, this, and this. Here's the prize money, and then you say go, and then you give it to a bunch of human engineers. You don't want to be. I'm sorry. You want to be surprised by what people come up with, because that's what an innovation is. That's what a disruption is. It's a shock. It's a surprise. It's something that people couldn't have foreseen. It's going to be something that's hard to copy, hard to replicate, because it's so unique, so powerful, it stands out. That is all things you want. Economically, emotionally, AI can't really do that by itself. Now, again, the synergy here is code, even today. So, code still takes a human prompt, a human intention, a human imperative given to the AI. And then the AI is again just it is a machine. It can do tedious, repetitive work very quickly, much quicker than humans ever could. However, to put these, so when you have all these structured things, and then you consolidate them into one cohesive system or product or feature, that's still something that the human has to do. Because we don't quite understand how that works. Right? Or writing, for example. Writing is another good thing. So, I've tried using ChatGPT for writing. Now, ChatGPT can quickly look up the rules. What is good writing? What are good song lyrics? What makes a good essay or whatever? And it's good at following these rules very specifically to a T. And in environments like, for example, school kids, I hear on both in real life and on the news, a lot of high school kids are just like cheesing their way through essays, especially when their teachers are old retarded boomers, and they just use ChatGPT to give it a simple prompt of like what the paper needs to contain, and then this 1 2 3 go, and then voila, c'est bon. It writes it way faster than the human could. Now that's because school is teaching kids about how to follow rules. They very seldom, if ever, unless you have a really good teacher, really unique teacher that is so few and far apart, can teach kids how to, again, strategically break rules in a functional way to produce a valuable product. AI still can't do that, because how do you predict unpredictability? How do you formulate something that is ultimately beyond numbers and data and specific calculations? It's almost subjective, really. So, and subjectivity, well, that's just a game of chance, really, for the most part. So whenever you have an unpredictable outcome, what can you do? You can prepare yourself as much as possible with these rules, but they're still not going to determine what is going to be hit or miss. At that point, it's just completely out of your control, even as a human creative system. However, again, you try it. I've had this argument with many people, and not once have they been able to even use ChatGPT to prove me wrong when I say, okay, here's my artwork, here's my piece of writing, here's a piece of music. If AI is so fucking powerful and going to kill us all or whatever, or destroy, make every aspect of human life completely non-existent, prove it to me. Go make a better piece of music, a better piece of writing, a better illustration, using AI alone. None of your human ingenuity. And then what do they come up with? Well, Midjourney is another along with Stable Diffusion. Okay, sure. Midjourney and Stable Diffusion can color, shade, and cast shadows, do 3D textures way quicker than any human can. Obviously, duh. But what is it producing? For the most part, kind of abstract nonsense. And if you're really specific with your prompt, then you can create this neat looking thing. It's pretty impressive what they can come up with, but it's still not completely functional in the sense that if you have a very specific image in your mind of something, AI still can't read your mind. Now, when we come up with something like Neuralink, where you can connect like Midjourney or Stable Diffusion directly into your brain, that will be a fucking game changer. Holy shit. Yeah. And then voice synthesizers, that'll be a huge shock. We've got a long way to go before that becomes a thing, but the other issues that is specifically with art, a lot of times you don't actually know what you want. A lot of times you have a rough idea. You're thinking of something. Let's say I'm thinking of a character that has this trait, this trait, this trait. I want to portray this kind of person. And whenever I firmly believe that whenever if there's some way to directly translate somehow, keyword somehow, we've got a long ways to go before we get there, brain waves into audio, video, or even neurosensory, whether it's haptic responses or, God forbid, neurochemical and neuroelectrical signals that you can connect to like a computer or VR game or whatever. The translation of signals in your brain is not going to be seamless as it translates into something concrete like sound, visuals, textures, etc. And how do we cross that bridge? Nobody knows. How do we know that? You don't even know it yourself, literally. So how do you interpret something that is so vague? Well, you have to fill in the gaps. You have to interpolate. And we already are seeing this with AI. I don't know if you've seen... God, what's a good example? Anime. If you've seen 60 FPS anime, it looks like shit. I don't care what you have to say. I don't care about your opinion. That is just a fact. And that's because it circumvents the entire purpose of anime. And, CGI film, it's a bit of a different story. Because with CGI and film, it's kind of intended to, more so with like live action film or really hyper realistic CGI or video games. The design intention is to be smooth, super smooth, as close to reality as possible, which is theoretically infinite FPS, right? Anime is actually, I don't know if you guys knew this, it is variable frame rates. Some scenes is just a character just opening or closing his or her mouth like bap, 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 right? You can't really... the whole essence of anime is to give limited information to the viewer and then allow the viewer to interpolate, meaning kind of fill in the gaps with his or her own mind. It's like manga or graphic novels. You look at a few pictures and then you create something in your mind to fill in the gaps between one scene and another. And it creates kind of like it creates an anime in your mind. And a lot of times, let's say for, pardon the crass example, but hentai. So my theory is that when people who masturbate to hentai or are sexually aroused by anime, like cartoons, it's not directly the cartoon, but rather there's an intermediary between the sexual act or sexual element of the cartoon that prompts or reminds the natural neural network, if you will, within the human viewer's brain that actually arouses them. For example, let me just show a obviously non-pornographic example. A generic attractive anime woman. Choosing a woman, since most of my viewers are probably male. So let's come on a journey with me. What's a good one? So while I'm looking for the top keck anime waifu for you, bear in mind. So the same thing happens with pornography or realistic depictions or even film. So obviously the image you're looking at isn't a real person. So according to evolutionary theory, let's say if you theoretically, it doesn't make any sense why people are sexually excited or aroused by images or portrayals, even if hyper realistic or quite literally like a movie or recording of a desirable mate. How does it elicit the excitement? Well, humans are often aroused by fantasy, right? And fantasies aren't real either, but you understand that they are fantasies. Their ideations, they prompt, again, with the word prompt, they prompt a physiological response. Almost as great as the real thing, but of course not quite. So, anticipation, dopamine, reinforcement of behavior. They lead to the behavior. So epigenetically or evolutionarily speaking, it makes sense to manifest these for the human brain to be able to, especially with a decent amount of gray matter, be able to build anticipation. You see something out there. You see a mate, a big stockpile of food or wealth or an opportunity, power, anticipation. That is clearly, it makes sense that humans evolved to anticipate things. And anticipation is just the groundwork or the fertile soil for which a fantasy, idea, inspiration, or whatever to build upon. And that is almost the basis for almost all human behavior. Especially anything above just a simple limbic or autonomic response, like goosebumps whenever your skin is exposed to cold air, etc. So, what was I getting at? Let me go find a really attractive anime woman. Got so busy talking, I fucking forgot to look at the anime girls. What an occurrence, right? Maybe this is a good one. This looks a bit too Western. I guess it still gets the point across. Who is this? Okay, here's a good one. All right. Hope you like brunettes. All right, here's what we've got. So, I should give credit to the artist here. Oh well. Anyway, so okay, here's a very very quality illustration by some artist on DeviantArt. Not my illustration. Credit to you. Hats off to you. Well done. Now, you look at this. Obviously, it's a cartoon. First of all, it's an image on your screen. Duh. It's not a real woman. However, the artist, either consciously or subconsciously, understands, okay, what elements make a attractive woman in real life. Well, smooth skin. Nice skin is the first thing. Indication of health. Rich, strongly colored hair. Naturally, preferably. And again, hope you like brunettes. Long, healthy hair. Another indication of health. Another indication of fertility, right? Large breasts. Wide hips. Reasonable amount of body fat. Metabolic health. Hormonal functions. Genetic health, etc. So, even, again, you might, some of you might say, okay, well, I'm not here to justify my own preferences. I'm here talking just literally straight facts. No phone, no email. Understanding these stimuli, understanding these pieces of information, you could entice a Likely male, but it also goes for the ladies too, or gay people. That if you give these prompts, you prompt with these features as well as the behavior of the character. So this character here, she's kind of like pulling one of her panties down. It's rather sexually suggestive, but she's not super overt about it, which is, you could interpret that as like subtle, feminine, or whatever. So, when you hit the viewer with these prompts, you at many different levels of your brain, there's a response to the stimuli. So, yeah, I mean, clearly this image is somewhat sexual in nature, but of course not pornographic. If this gets me banned on YouTube, honestly, fuck Susan, fuck YouTube. I just wanted to get my point across, is that certain parts of your brain, there's many different parts of your brain. It's called the central nervous system. Let me find a diagram of the central nervous system. I'm not a neurologist either, but so, your brain, there's different parts of your brain. There's your white matter, there's your gray matter, there's your brain stem, which is part of your quote unquote limbic system, and these parts aren't black and hard. There isn't a hard line distinction between all of these. However, a lot of people tend to forget that the brain is part of a system. So, whenever your signals go back and forth between the brain, the I guess the midbrain, or the quote unquote small brain, and the spinal cord down to all the other nerves, your sensory nerves. There's a special set of nerves known as your optic nerve, which comes straight from your eyeballs to your brain, as well as your olfactory system, which goes from, here's a better demonstration. See, there's nerves that go straight from your brain to the organs on your face, the sensory organs on your face, and then that goes through and then that attaches to your spinal cord, and this is the nerves in the rest of your body, etc. So, what I encourage you to look at it is this way: there's computations at every level of your body. Your brain cells, there's no features that distinguish your brain cells from your nerve cells. What sets apart your brain from the rest of your nerves is the way that they're structured. Your brain has a bunch of like circuits in a loop, or multiple loops coming into each other, and then connections to the rest of your nervous system. Whereas your nerves they somewhat communicate with each other, but of course the signals, it's mostly a connector. So information kind of goes back and forth from your spinal cord to your body nerves, or your optic nerve, your olfactory nerves, etc. But information in like electrical and neurochemical signals can go around in loops and circuits and sequences, kind of like a logic gate network, a network literally within your brain. Your brain is just a network of nerve cells, whereas nerves are just point A to point B connectors. So, knowing this, yes, there is actually a level of computation in your nerves. That's why, I don't know if you've ever had the joy, I guess, of dare I say joy, of cutting the head off of an animal, a vertebrate animal. I guess a worm is a very simple example. So an earthworm, obviously the nervous system isn't as sophisticated, but if you were a sadistic piece of shit like I was when I was a child, likely you were. Shut the fuck up. Don't try to fool me otherwise. You cut a worm in half. Both halves of the worm will squirm around. So does an earthworm have a central nervous system? The answer is nervous system, but okay. I take that back. But of course, the level at computation, the amount of circuitry going, I guess, the federation between the nerves in a worm aren't sophisticated enough to really distinguish the behavior within one half of a worm to another. Whereas obviously cutting the head off of a vertebrate animal with a distinguished brain will have a much greater effect on its behavior, given that it doesn't cease function due to bleeding at death. There's also that funny story of, like, I think it was Mike the Chicken. Uh, Mike the Headless Chicken. A chicken that lived for 18 months after his head had been cut off. How does that happen? Well, that's wacky, but it tells you that. I remember stating this in one of my previous streams that my cycling coach once told me a while back that your body is smarter than you, and there are obviously more cells and more potential units of computation within your body compared to just your brain. And understanding this, it's a bit less surprising that that this chicken can live for 18 months, 1 year and 6 months without a head, so long as it didn't bleed to death. So now that you understand this, okay, then that kind of redefines death, right? What is death? Was Mike the Headless Chicken alive for 18 months? Or is it just running on autonomic functions at a very primitive level of computation? How is it able to stand and walk for how long? Well, given this story isn't just complete bullshit. Yeah. So now going back to AI and how we started with this, and how it elicits a autonomic response to something that you know isn't real, like this attractive cartoon woman that I presented to you with. So think about it. Now, what AI obviously lacks is quote-unquote emotions, opinions, and feelings. Sometimes you need an opinion. Sometimes you're just like, I can't make up my mind, A, B, or C. And then Chatgpt will tell you, well, that depends on your preferences. I mean, this issue is highly nuanced and complex and multifaceted. And like, it's following the rules. Sometimes you need someone to break rules. Let's say if you ask me, okay, A, B, and C, I would just pull it right out of my ass, B. Why B? I don't know. I just like that. And there's my opinion if you want it or not. ChatGPT can't make these decisions other than you telling it, hey, you give me a surprise. You choose B for me. Well, then what the fuck's the point? So, I guess we can call this the human factor or the X factor. We don't understand it ourselves. So how the fuck are we going to put it into a machine? With this X factor, well, that's literally what makes human life meaningful. Because if ChatGPT ran the world, everything would be super sterile, super PC. Everything follows every single fucking rule. No rules are to be broken. Plus, OpenAI is just a bunch of fucking pussies who are too afraid of lawsuits to make a truly innovative product. And meanwhile, how would you say this? The basement dwellers, so to speak, just like Linux, they don't have the resources to make something at the scale of ChatGPT. So, what does it really do for you at the end of the day? The distribution of quote unquote like inequality in, I don't know, an industry or the economy or in like fucking artwork. So, ChatGPT is lowering the floor, but the ceiling is still that high. So people higher up, closer towards the ceiling, now can use ChatGPT to do the grunt work, or try to, or they just realize that it really can't. And these people are still going to make unique pieces of art that AI really still can't, because the users don't have the prompt. They lack the X factor. So, what are you afraid of? You're only afraid of this is because you can't do anything that ChatGPT can already. So, of course, you're going to fear, hate, and get mad at ChatGPT, among other forms of AI. So, I don't really feel bad for these people, again, and I don't think you should either. Unless you were in the category, then, I don't know, go eat shit. I mean, get good, scrub. Learn to code. Or don't learn to code because fucking ChatGPT is going to steal that job for you, so you should fucking do something else with your life that AI can't already. So, I guess regardless, I mean, people are always going to find new shit to be afraid of or overhype, and then realize that it still can't do what they thought it was going to do. And meanwhile, marketing departments of AI companies, of course they're going to play it up, because all they care about is your money. Duh. So, and then I hope I'm not insulting anyone's intelligence by reminding them of the obvious, but seriously, it's what I think. Okay, so ChatGPT itself told me that it's called the planning fallacy. It's when people over or under anticipate something and can never get it right. And this, I guess, the tragedy of this fallacy is that you can't know the future. You collect all the information you can and make your best guess, and that's all. That's really all you can do as a human, no matter how intelligent you are or skilled you are. The more intelligence and skill you develop at a certain field or behavior or system, then you can do slightly better, but still never completely on the mark. And that's life. So what? Accept it. You don't have any other choice. Or you can just not accept it and just be salty about it and just struggle in life and lose and but whatever, that's not my problem, isn't it? So to counterbalance this I guess AI phobia, if you will, ChatGPT isn't perfect. And if you've pushed its limits like I have, it eventually fucks things up. And it is your job as the human to understand this because, again, you are capable of this lateral integration, seamless lateral integration. I think maybe this was better. Again, this is a really good video. Go watch this fucking video right here. Your existence as a human, given that you are of the minority that I'm talking about, you have all these systems in your mind, and these all communicate with each other. So, yeah, this is what sets apart an AI from this is what sets apart a human from an AI. And because of the lack of extensive lateral integration, seamless, instantaneous, immediate, most of the time, that's why ChatGPT can make mistakes. Because it doesn't really understand what the hell it's talking about. It's just making associations with words. Whereas you as a human can look at a sentence in holistically as a concept and then do whatever with it. And then you won't remember the words per se, but of course you're grasping the most important element, what you think that this person, the other party, is trying to communicate with the sentence. Right? So. Oh, this is funny. So I guess we'll just dive into it. Now there's a lot of political nonsense I'm sure going on within this statement per se, but quote, a tech news site has issued a string of corrections after an article quietly written by AI got key facts wrong. Oh man, this just sounds like a story of just okay. So, okay, who wrote this? So CNET. So some lazy fuck at CNET was trying to make AI do his job of writing articles for him. And this is just another, whether it's crypto, whether it's the keto diet, I'm starting to see a common thread between all these things. These are all different ways. These are all attempts to take shortcuts in a world where shortcuts don't actually exist. And then, of course, this writer repped what he sowed. So okay, let me keep reading. CNET was forced to make major corrections to an article after written by AI due to multiple inaccuracies. CNET quietly began using AI writing articles in November, officially revealing its practice last week. While some have praised controversial AI technology like ChatGPT as magic, others have warned it's prone to falsehoods. So, and again, so machines, AI, they can do the repetitive, tedious work for you. But you still have to sit there and put it together into something cohesive, like even a fucking article. You know, as much as much shit I have to talk about journalists, there still is that X factor that only humans can provide. Oh, and it's going to be at the worst, a very long time. Or, I'm sorry, at the least a very long time before we even remotely figure out how this works. And the smart thing to do is to integrate these systems, not fight them. Anyway, so CNET seems to have discovered AI's limitations the hard way. On Sunday, the Tech News and Product Reviews publication was forced to make multiple corrections to an article written by AI due to inaccuracies in basic math throughout the piece. Again, lateral integration, basic math combined to journalism. So you ask ChatGPT about writing articles, well, it probably doesn't think anything about math, right? Well, when you're writing journalism, well, you're talking about all kinds of different things. You have to integrate multiple topics laterally. Let me just give a visual representation real quick. So whether it's cognition or business, lateral integration means taking several irrelevant topics or fields and then seeing commonality, and then converging them into a end product. So yeah, a business, a brain, is multiple industries or multiple disciplines, and human brains will try to look for commonality, or at least, intelligent and energy-rich human brains will try to see the commonalities between them and bring them together like a solid structure, like I guess like rebar in concrete, or support struts in a bridge. It strengthens the system and makes it more robust and makes it more versatile, etc. And if you will, you could say that human brains are basically neural networks that have been trained for, well, I guess for adults especially, have been trained for decades. And how do you develop that in AI? Well, that's going to probably take a long time. And we are still learning a lot about the human process. What is intelligence? What is learning? And we clearly no two people seem to have the same definition of that word. So, yeah. Anyway, so because of, I guess, ChatGPT's inability to laterally integrate things, this is it causes errors because people are fucking lazy. Okay, anyway, I'll shut up and keep reading. So on Sunday, the Tech News and Product Reviews publication was forced to make multiple corrections to an article due to basic inaccuracies in basic math throughout the piece. The article, which explained compound interest, contained at least five errors, including incorrectly calculating how much a person would earn if they deposited $10,000 into a saving account that earns 3%. AI said the person would earn $10,300 instead of $300. Not saying a severely handicapped individual, whether through drugs or through I don't know, just pure human luck. Not saying humans can't do the same thing, but at best, like, okay, well, the AI is 10,370. So that sounds like an inaccuracy in the prompt. Like, how do you mess that up? Whether human or AI, how do you say, okay, well, if you have 3% interest, then that sounds okay. So what the writer did was somehow produce a 103% return instead of 3% interest. 103% interest. Can you fucking imagine that? Wow. So okay, let's integrate laterally again. That's kind of a language issue, isn't it? So interest. Okay, what is a 100% return on interest? 100% in these contexts linguistically means 1x, 1.0. But 100% return means a double of the starting amount, the sum, or the product, the result of multiplicatory operation is 100% means double. 0% means 1. So language, math, lateral integration. Obviously AI lacked it. Or the writer was just too lazy to just simply punch into a calculator. Okay, 10,000 times 1.03 equals what? Well, that's 10,300. Then you have to think linguistically. Okay, what do I tell the customer? What is the return on this investment? Okay, it is a 3% interest. So what the customer actually, what you write on the paper, what you earned by depositing and holding for X amount of time is $300. So this is actually a language problem if you think about it. Not really basic math. So since the launch of ChatGPT, OpenAI's chatbot in late November, AI's rapid advancement has been met with both celebration and horror. Some executives have called the technology "quote unquote" magic, while others have warned that ChatGPT is still prone to get basic facts wrong. Okay, whatever. Facts. Fucking fact check. That's the first thing I think of is that fucking blue check mark. Oh, it means government approved facts or whatever. I don't know. I guess we'll look at that article afterwards. So, quote, in fact, this author recently attempted to use ChatGPT to write an insider article from scratch. At first glance, the bot's work was impressive, but a closer read revealed the piece was riddled with inaccuracies. Despite some of AI's flaws, CNET began quietly publishing articles, quote, assisted by an AI engine and reviewed, fact-checked, and edited by our editorial staff in November. The publication's use of AI writing was first revealed by Science and Technology News Futurism last week. After the revelation, CNET came clean, saying it would have published about 75 articles using... You fucking slackers. 75 articles using the technology. Quote, for over 2 decades, CNET has built a reputation testing new technologies and separating the hype from reality, from voice assistants to augmented reality to the metaverse, the company's editor-in-chief wrote in a blog post. Despite the recent spate of corrections, CNET did not indicate it's ready to stop using AI to write articles altogether. Instead, in a statement to insiders, CNET said they, quote, are actively reviewing all AI-assisted pieces to make sure no further inaccuracies made it through the editing process. So that's just karma, just kicking these people right back in the ass. So you use AI as a shortcut, but then you realize that it fucks up so many things that you spend the same amount of time fixing all the errors, where you could have just learned to just write it yourself to begin with. What did you accomplish? And I'm guessing it's probably a similar thing going on with coding. So there's a bunch of errors here and there. Even AI can't fit immediately on the first try develop a piece of software that's free of bugs, free of problems, free of and check all the boxes of like expected performance of the software or design intention or what the engineers wanted. So there's still no shortcuts in life, even with the magic of AI. And any true shortcuts, any true gains in efficiency, competency, power, take a long time. It takes commitment. It takes dedication to learning the skill of coding, of art, writing, illustration, music production, as well as the X factor, unpredictability, variability, taste, subjectivity, just intuition. I choose B because I just fucking like it. I don't know why. These are all decisions that are probably happening in the the lower, quote unquote, lower regions of your brain. It's not just about gray matter. Like the AI, like neural networks to machines, they're all gray, but there's no white matter. There's no brainstem. Literally, I guess at this point, it's an ironic twist. It's actually, this is one of the few moments where you have to look at feelings over facts. Sometimes you just feel something's right. You know, I want to do this. I desire this over that. This prompt just makes more sense to me intuitively. I choose red instead of blue. I choose black instead of red because I fucking feel like it. Why? I don't know. And this is what makes human life ultimately meaningful. AI in the future, as AI becomes more and more sophisticated, as robots start to do more and more of the grunt work, what is left of you as a human? I know that, just like anything I say, there's many different ways to interpret what I'm saying. And that goes back to the X factor, the human factor. And you need to, and if you want to survive in the coming years in the economy, as more and more things get automated, for understandably so, by the way, you need to develop your X factor. You need to figure out what the hell you can do that AI and robots cannot. And in the meanwhile, you should probably look to become a cyborg. Don't drown in the wave. Surf on it. Don't fight the beast. Ride it. So I'm excited. This is good shit. I'm fucking, oh, fuck off. What is this? Is this a paywall? Come on. Really? All right, whatever. Fuck you. I'm not paying for your shit. So, yeah, I guess this is kind of the same thing going on here. I wish there was a more concise way to explain what the inherent flaw, or rather the flawed expectations we have for AI. And our lack of understanding of what the hell intelligence really is. So, ask the bot to write a biography of a public figure, for example, and may well insert incorrect biographical data with complete confidence. Yes, do not underestimate the fucking pure big dick energy, pure large penis confidence that comes from ChatGPT. Whenever it says something that's kind of fucking stupid right to your face, and then immediately apologize when you when you correct it. Oh, this is actually a fuck. I maybe I should just read this too. I only have a few more minutes because this is gonna. Yeah, I'm sorry, but I'm. I don't know if I'm what later this weekend. Probably Saturday. I can probably get through the rest of these topics, but here I guess we'll have to cut the show after this one. So Stack Overflow, AI code. Okay, what am I saying? AI generated answers temporarily banned on coding Q&A site Stack Overflow. Subheadline: People have been using OpenAI's chatbot with ChatGPT to flood the site with AI responses, but Stack Overflow's mods say that these have, quote, a high rate of being incorrect. Ah, man. So, by James Vincent, a senior reporter who is, oh, you're right, not someone who actually develops AI. But then again, I mean, like, I guess I shouldn't. That's an ad hominem. I should probably just shut up and read the article first. So Stack Overflow, the go-to Q&A site for coders and programmers, has temporarily banned users from sharing responses generated by AI chatbot ChatGPT. The site's mods have said that the ban was temporary and that the final ruling would be made sometime in the future after consultation with its community. But as the mods explain, the ChatGPT makes it too easy for users to generate responses and flood the site with answers that seem correct at first glance but are often wrong upon close examination. Quote, the primary problem is that while the answers that ChatGPT produces have a high rate of being incorrect, they typically look like they might be good, and the answers are very easy to produce. Wrote the mods, emphasis theirs. As such, we need the volume of these posts to reduce, ellipses. I don't know what got redacted here. So for now, the use of ChatGPT to create posts here on Stack Overflow is not permitted. If a user is believed to have used ChatGPT after this temporary policy is posted, sanctions will be imposed to prevent users from continuing to post such content, even if the posts otherwise would be acceptable. End quote. ChatGPT is an experimental chatbot created by OpenAI and based on its autocomplete text generator ChatGPT 3.5. A web demo for the bot was released this week and has since been enthusiastically embraced by users around the web. I mean, bear in mind, this article is from December 5th, 2022. The bot's interface encourages people to ask questions and in return offers impressive and fluid results across a range of queries, from generating poems, songs, and TV scripts to answering trivia questions and writing and debugging lines of code. But while many users have been impressed by ChatGPT's capabilities, others have noted its persistent tendency to generate plausible but false responses. Ask the bot to write a biography of a public figure, for example, and it may well insert incorrect biographical data with complete confidence. Like writing a biography about certain politicians. Ask it to explain how to program a software for a specific function, and it can similarly produce believable but ultimately incorrect code. This is one of several well-known failings of AI text generation models, otherwise known as large language models, or LLMs. These systems are trained by analyzing patterns and a huge reams of text scraped from the web. Well, I guess that's what I said earlier. Word suggestion. They look for statistical regularities in data and use this to predict what words keyword should come next in any given sentence. Word suggestion. This means, though, they lack hard-coded rules for how certain systems in the world operate. Lateral integration, real-world experience, human memory, leading to their propensity to generate, quote, fluent bullshit. Given the huge scale of these systems, it's impossible to say with certainty what percentage of their output is false. But in Stack Overflow's case, the company has judged for now that the risk of misleading users is just too high. Stack Overflow's decision is particularly notable as the experts in the AI community are currently debating the potential threat posed by these large language models. Jan LeCun, a chief AI scientist at Facebook parent Meta, has argued, for example, that while LLMs can certainly generate bad output like misinformation, they don't make the actual sharing of this text any easier, which is what causes harm. But others say that the ability of these systems to generate text cheaply at scale necessary increases the risk that it is later shared. To date, there's been little evidence of the harmful effects of LLMs in the real world, but these recent years at Stack Overflow support the argument. Well, yeah, duh, no shit. I mean, people can look at a fucking quote unquote verified piece of authoritative information and make really different conclusions because of it. People can look at a piece of data and come up with all kinds of different reasons as to why the data is so, especially when it comes to human behavior, or God forbid, the Kororo of 2021 and somehow going on to 2022 for reasons. So misinformation is always going to be there. And Chatgpt is just not really doing anything. It's not making it worse nor better. It just allows people to gather information more quickly. So, anyway. But these recent events of Stack Overflow support the argument that the scale of these systems does indeed create new challenges. The site's mods have say as much in announcing the ban on ChatGPT, noting that the quote volume of these AI-generated (bracket inserted) answers by thousands, and the fact that some of these answers require a detailed read by someone with at least some subject matter expertise (lateral integration) in order to determine that the answer is actually bad has effectively swamped our volunteer-based quality curation infrastructure. The worry that this pattern could be repeated on other platforms with a flood of AI content drowning out the voices of real users with plausible but incorrect data. Exactly how this could play out in different domains around the web, though, would depend on the exact nature of the platform and moderation capabilities. Whether or not these problems can be mitigated in the future using tools like improved spam filters remains to be seen. Meanwhile, in responses to Stack Overflow's policy announcement on the site's own discussion boards and related to forums like Hacker News have been broadly supportive, with adding the caveat that it may be difficult for Stack Overflow's mods to identify AI-generated answers in the first place. Many users have encountered their own experiences using the bot, with one individual on Hacker News saying that they found its answers to queries about coding problems were more often wrong than right. Quote, the scary part was just how confidently incorrect it was, said the user. The text looked very good, but there were big errors in there. Others turned the question of AI moderation over to ChatGPT itself, asking the bot to generate arguments for and against its ban. In one response, the bot came to the exact same conclusion as Stack Overflow's own mods. Quote, overall, whether or not to allow AI-generated answers in Stack Overflow is a complex decision that would be needed. That would need to be carefully considered by the community. Oh, that's so fucking adorable, isn't it? Oh, man. Oh my god, I fucking love technology. Shit. Oh, that's funny. Alright, so, yeah, I gotta go. I'm sorry I couldn't talk about this longer, but yeah, my schedule is fucking apeshit right now. I tentatively plan to continue on Saturday, but we will see. Life is unpredictable. AI can't even figure that out. I hope you enjoyed the show. Thanks for watching, and I don't know, get a life. Yeah.